Hello everyone, this is Desecrates and welcome to my Smite Lore Series. In this episode I will be going into the actual history and mythology behind the Babylonian goddess Tiamat. To start, Tiamat is a primordial goddess of the sea. She mates with Apsu, the god of groundwater, to produce younger gods. She is the symbol and personification of chaos. She is usually referred to as a woman and is described as the glistening one. Some sources also identify her with images of a sea serpent or dragon. It is believed that there are two parts to the mythology behind Tiamat. The first in which Tiamat is a creator goddess through a sacred marriage between different waters, peacefully creating the cosmos through multiple generations. In the second one, known as Chaos Kampf, Tiamat is considered the monstrous embodiment of primordial chaos. There is a Babylonian tale of creation and more known as Enuma Elish. The Enuma Elish, from what archaeologists have found, was written on 7 clay tablets. Some tablets have still never been fully recovered though. I'm going to go into all the stories that have been found on the tablets, covering Tiamat and furthermore the creation of man according to Babylonian myth. The first tale begins before creation. Only the primordial deities Tiamat and Apsu existed. Together they gave birth to many more gods. The commotion of these new gods disturbed and disgusted Tiamat, and Apsu could not calm them. Apsu called Mummu to speak with Tiamat, and he proposed to destroy the new gods, but Tiamat was reluctant to destroy what they had made. Mummu then advised the same thing to Apsu, and he embraced the idea. The new gods heard of this and were worried. However, a god known as Ea crafted a spell to send Apsu to sleep. Mummu sought to wake Apsu but could not. Ea took Apsu's halo and wore it himself. He then killed Apsu and chained up Mummu. Apsu became the dwelling place of Ea together with his wife Damkina. Within the heart of Apsu, Ea and Damkina created another deity known as Marduk. The other gods taunted Tiamat, saying she did nothing when her consort Apsu was slain and complained of the draining wind. Tiamat then made monsters to battle the other gods, 11 chimeric creatures with weapons, with the god Kingu being chief of the war party and her new consort. She gave Kingu the Tablet of Destinies, therefore making his command unchallengeable. Ea heard of Tiamat's plan to fight and avenge Apsu. He spoke to his grandfather Anshar, telling that many gods had gone to Tiamat's cause and that she had created 11 monstrous creatures fit for war and made Kingu their leader, wielding the Tablet of Destinies. Anshar was troubled by this and told another god known as Anu to go to appease Tiamat, but he was too weak to face her and turned back. Anshar became more worried, thinking that no god could resist the primordial Tiamat. Finally, Anshar proposed Marduk as their champion. Marduk was brought forth and asked what god he must fight, to which Anshar replied that it was not a god but the goddess Tiamat. Marduk confidently predicted his victory, but demanded their promise to proclaim him as the supreme god, with authority over even Anshar. Anshar spoke to Gargar, who advised him to fetch Lamu and Lahamu, and tell them of Tiamat's war plans and of Marduk's demand for overlordship if he defeats her. The heavenly gods were distressed but drank together, becoming drowsy and finally approving the deal with Marduk. Marduk was given a throne and sat over all the other gods, who now honoured him. He was also given a scepter and clothing, as well as weapons to fight Tiamat, a bow, quiver and bolts of lightning, together with the 4 winds. His body was aflame. Using the 4 winds, Marduk trapped Tiamat, adding a whirlwind, a cyclone and the evil wind known as Imhilu. Together the 7 winds stirred up Tiamat. In his war chariot drawn by 4 creatures he advanced, he challenged Tiamat, stating she had unrightfully made Kingu her consort, accusing her of being the source of the trouble. Tiamat, being enraged, fought Marduk in single combat. Marduk used a net, a gift from Anu, to entangle Tiamat. She attempted to swallow Marduk, but the evil wind filled her mouth. With the wind swirling within her, she became bloated. Marduk then fired his arrow, piercing her heart, and Tiamat was slain. The other gods attempted to flee, but Marduk captured them, broke their weapons and netted them. Tiamat's 11 monsters were also captured and chained. While Kingu was taken to the Angel of Death, the Tablet of Destinies was taken from him. Marduk then smashed Tiamat's head with a mace, while her blood is carried off by the north wind. Marduk then split Tiamat's remains in 2. For one half he created the sky. In this sky he made places for Anu, Enlil and Ea. Marduk made constellations that looked like the gods, and defined the days of the year from them. He created night and day, the moon, clouds and rain, and their water made the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which are 2 of the most important rivers in Mesopotamia. He also gave the Tablet of Destinies to Anu. Statues of the 11 monsters of Tiamat were made and installed at the gate of Apsu. Marduk then spoke to Ea, saying he would use the blood to create mankind and that they would serve the gods. Ea suggested that one of the gods be chosen as a sacrifice. The heavenly gods advised that Kingu be chosen, and so his blood was then used to create man. Marduk then divided the gods into above and below, 300 in the heavens and 600 on earth. The gods then proposed to build a throne or shrine for him. Marduk told them to construct Babylon. The gods then spent a year making bricks. They built a temple to Marduk to a great height. A banquet was then held, with 50 of the great gods taking seats. Anu was praising Enlil's bow and then Marduk. The first 9 names or titles of Marduk were then given. To summarise, Tiamat and Apsu created these gods, but when they couldn't destroy them, it ended up leading to be their downfall. But with the downfall of Tiamat and Apsu, the world was created. Mankind was born from the blood of the gods, and the city of Babylon was constructed. Now that we've covered the Enuma Elish, let's go into the differences between the in-game Tiamat to the real-life Tiamat. I think Smite has actually done quite well, so let's get into it. To start, both in Smite and real-life, Tiamat is described as the goddess of the Salt Sea. In-game, it also does go into how she is the mother of creation, and together with Apsu drew up the primordial waters of creation, and from those waters came all things. Again, they are correct in-game saying their children then gave birth to another generation of deities, but then they were treacherous creatures and ended up killing Apsu. It then goes into how Tiamat made monstrous creatures. It doesn't specify 11, like it does in the Enuma Elish, but at least it says about it. It then goes into how the younger gods seeked the protection of Marduk and the deal that he made with them that he wanted to be king of all gods. This is where it is a bit different from the real life stories. It does say how Tiamat and Marduk fought each other and Marduk wins the battle, but instead of killing Tiamat like it says in the Enuma Elish, instead Marduk cast her back into a cosmic abyss from which she had been born. Obviously Smite probably changed this part of the story so that they can explain Tiamat being alive and coming back to fight, as of course that would be a bit harder if she died. When it comes to Tiamat's appearance in game, again I think Smite has actually done a good job. As I said earlier, Tiamat is sometimes described as being a sea serpent or dragon, and I feel like her appearance in game fits well with that description. In terms of her abilities, Tiamat is able to summon 3 different pets, which although in the story she is described as creating 11 monsters, I think it's fair enough that Smite didn't give her the ability in game to summon that many different pets, otherwise she may just be a bit too overpowered. So I feel like giving her that ability to summon 3 pets makes a lot of sense when you do know the lore behind Tiamat. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of my Smite Lore series. If you enjoyed watching and would like to see more, remember to subscribe and to like the video. I also stream on Twitch if you wanted to watch me play live, links will be below.